God says, chosen one. When money flows in, stay quiet. This powerful surprise. There is something quietly shifting in your life right now, and you may have felt it before you could even explain it. A subtle change in how opportunities appear, how conversations unfold, how doors that once felt heavy now open with unexpected ease. It's not loud, not obvious, but it's real. And somewhere deep within you, there's a knowing, a quiet awareness that something is beginning to flow differently. You may have noticed moments where provision arrives at the exact time you need it, or ideas come to you with unusual clarity, as if guided from somewhere beyond your usual thoughts. It may feel unfamiliar, even a little unsettling, because it doesn't follow the patterns you've known before. And perhaps you've wondered, why now? Because what is happening is not random, and what you're about to understand may change the way you move from this moment forward. There is a reason the message is simple, yet deeply important. When money begins to flow in, stay quiet. Not out of fear, and not out of secrecy in a negative sense, but out of awareness. Because not every blessing is meant to be announced. Not every increase is meant to be displayed. Some things are given to you in silence so they can grow without interference. Chosen one, there is a difference between receiving and revealing. And many people lose what was meant to multiply because they rush to show it before it has taken root. You may have already felt this instinct within you, a hesitation to speak too soon, a pull to keep certain things to yourself. That feeling is not doubt. It is discernment, and there's something deeper behind it that most people never fully realize. Because when something sacred begins to grow in your life, it carries a certain sensitivity. It doesn't need noise. It doesn't need validation. It needs space. And this is where many misunderstand the nature of abundance. They think it is meant to be seen immediately, shared instantly, proven outwardly. But true flow, the kind that is meant for you, often begins quietly, almost invisibly. There's a reason for that. Not everyone around you is aligned with where you are going. Not everyone can understand what is unfolding in your life. And more importantly, not everyone is meant to have access to it. This doesn't mean you become distant or closed off. It means you become intentional, because something powerful happens when you allow your blessings to grow in silence. They strengthen, they stabilize, they become rooted in a way that cannot easily be shaken. And if you pay close attention, you may realize something else. Every time you have shared something too early in the past, it changed the energy around it. Sometimes subtly, sometimes in ways you couldn't explain, but enough to make you feel like something shifted. That was not coincidence. Energy responds to attention, and not all attention carries the same intention. This is why the message is not about hiding, it is about protecting. Protecting what is still forming. Protecting what is still becoming. Because what is coming into your life is not just money, it is alignment. It is provision connected to purpose. And that kind of flow requires a different kind of awareness. You may start to notice that the more you stay grounded and quiet, the more things begin to unfold naturally. Opportunities will feel less forced. Decisions will feel clearer. And there will be a sense of calm instead of urgency. That calm is a sign. It means you are no longer chasing, you are receiving. And there is something important you are beginning to understand, even if you haven't put it into words yet. When you stop announcing every step, you start experiencing it more deeply. You begin to see things others miss. You begin to move in ways that feel guided rather than reactive. And most importantly, you begin to trust what is happening without needing external confirmation. But here is the part many don't expect. The silence is not permanent. There will come a time when what has been growing quietly in your life becomes visible, not because you forced it, but because it naturally reveals itself. And when it does, it will feel stable, grounded, undeniable. That is the difference. Because what grows in silence carries a strength that cannot be easily disrupted. So if you've been feeling the urge to pull back, to observe more, to speak less about what is coming into your life, trust that feeling. It is not distance. It is preparation. It is not hesitation. It is alignment. And what you are stepping into right now is something that does not need to be rushed, explained, or proven. It only needs to be protected until the moment it is ready to speak for itself. If this quiet shift in your life feels familiar, comment "I move in silence" below as a reflection of your alignment, and you may gently subscribe to Born into Light and like this video to stay connected to this space. And there is something even deeper unfolding beneath this silence, something you may not have fully recognized yet, even though you've been feeling it in small, quiet ways. Chosen one, as this flow begins to increase, you may notice a shift not just in what comes to you, but in how you relate to it. The excitement that once made you want to share everything immediately begins to soften. In its place, a calm awareness starts to grow, a sense that not everything needs to be spoken to be real. This is not you losing joy, this is you gaining control over your energy. Because when money arrives without inner stability, it often brings noise, pressure, and distraction. But when it arrives alongside awareness, it becomes something entirely different. It becomes a tool, not a test. And this is where the powerful surprise begins to reveal itself, though not in the way most expect. It's not just that money flows in. It's that it flows in differently when you are aligned. You begin to notice that things come without the same struggle that once strained you. Situations resolve without the same resistance. And even when challenges appear, they no longer shake you in the same way. At first, this may feel unfamiliar, almost as if something is missing. But what's actually missing is the chaos you once believed was necessary. And here is something important to reflect on. What if the reason things are becoming quieter is because they are becoming clearer? Because clarity does not shout, it does not rush, it does not demand attention, it simply guides. Chosen one, there is a refinement happening within you, a shift from reacting to observing, from proving to understanding, from seeking approval to trusting your own inner knowing. And as this shift deepens, you may begin to feel less inclined to explain your journey to others. Not because you don't care, but because you realize that not everything needs to be understood by everyone. This realization can feel isolating at first. You may notice conversations no longer resonate the same way. You may feel a quiet distance from environments that once felt familiar. And you might even question whether this change is pulling you away from people. But look closer. It is not pulling you away. It is aligning you more precisely. Because as your energy becomes more focused, your environment begins to reflect that focus. And what no longer matches that energy naturally fades, not through force, but through alignment. This is why silence becomes so important in this phase. It allows you to observe without interference. It allows you to recognize patterns without distraction. And most importantly, it allows you to hear what is guiding you without outside noise distorting it. And if you stay present with this, you may begin to notice something subtle yet powerful. The less you speak about what is coming into your life, the more clearly you begin to understand why it is coming. That understanding is the real wealth, because money without understanding can be lost. But money with awareness becomes something that grows, evolves, and supports you in ways that go far beyond the surface. And here is where the deeper surprise reveals itself fully. The quiet phase you are in right now is not just preparing you to receive more, it is preparing you to sustain it. Many people can attract opportunity, few can hold it, because holding it requires discipline, awareness, and the ability to remain centered even when things begin to expand. And this is exactly what you are being guided into. You are learning how to move without announcing, how to build without displaying, how to receive without needing validation. And if you reflect on your life, you may realize something. Every time you moved in silence, things worked out more smoothly. Every time you trusted your inner sense instead of outside opinions, the outcome felt more aligned. That is not coincidence, that is guidance. And it is becoming stronger now because you are beginning to listen more closely. So as money flows in, as opportunities begin to unfold, as doors open in ways that feel almost effortless, stay grounded in this quiet awareness. Not because you are hiding your blessings, but because you are honoring their growth. Because what is forming in your life right now is not temporary. It is not fragile in the way past experiences may have been. It is becoming stable. It is becoming rooted, and soon, without force, without noise, without explanation, it will speak for itself in ways that no words ever could. And as this begins to unfold more fully in your life, you may notice that the silence you once questioned is now becoming something you rely on, almost like a sacred space within you where clarity forms without pressure and where decisions arise naturally instead of being forced through overthinking or outside influence. And in this space, something remarkable begins to happen. You start to trust not just what is coming into your life, but how it is coming, because the way something arrives often reveals more than the thing itself. Chosen one. There is a refinement in your awareness that is teaching you to observe patterns that most people overlook. Subtle shifts in timing, the way certain opportunities align perfectly without struggle, the way certain people enter or exit your life without struggle, the way certain people enter or exit your life without conflict, and the way your intuition gently nudges you in directions that later make complete sense, even if they didn't at the moment. And if you allow yourself to reflect deeply, you may begin to realize that this flow is not new. It has always been present in small ways, but now it is becoming stronger because you are no longer resisting it with doubt, noise, or the need to explain everything before you experience it. This is where your relationship with abundance begins to change completely. Because before, there may have been a sense of urgency attached to receiving, a feeling that you needed to hold on to everything tightly or prove its value quickly. But now there is a calm confidence forming within you, a quiet understanding that what is meant for you does not require force, and what stays is more important than what arrives quickly. And here is something that may feel almost unexpected. As you become quieter, your discernment becomes sharper. You begin to notice not just what feels right, but what feels slightly off, even when everything appears good on the surface. And this sensitivity is not a weakness, it is a form of protection that ensures what enters your life aligns with where you are truly meant to go. Because not every opportunity that brings money is meant for you. And this is where many people lose alignment, by saying yes too quickly, by allowing external excitement to override internal clarity, by moving before they fully understand what something carries beneath its surface. But you are being guided differently. You are learning to pause, to observe, to feel the energy of something before you accept it. And in doing so, you are creating a life that is not just abundant, but aligned. And this alignment is what makes the difference. Because when money flows into alignment, it does not complicate your life. It simplifies it. It does not create pressure, it creates space. It does not distract you, it supports you. And as this becomes your reality, you may begin to notice another shift that feels subtle but significant. You no longer feel the need to compare your journey to anyone else's, because comparison fades when clarity grows. You start to understand that your path was never meant to look like anyone else's, and the timing of your life is not something that can be measured against external milestones or expectations. And in that understanding, there is a deep sense of peace. A peace that allows you to move steadily instead of rushing. A peace that allows you to appreciate what is building instead of constantly looking ahead. A peace that keeps you grounded even as things begin to expand. And this is where your power quietly strengthens. Not in loud moments of achievement, not in visible displays of success, but in the way you carry yourself when no one is watching, in the decisions you make when there is no pressure to impress, and in the trust you hold when things are still unfolding. Because that is where true stability is formed. And if you continue to move in this way, honoring the silence, trusting the flow, observing more than you announce, you will begin to notice something that many people spend years trying to understand. That life begins to meet you differently when you stop trying to prove yourself to it. Opportunities begin to find you without effort. Resources begin to appear without struggle. And the path ahead begins to feel less like something you are chasing and more like something you are walking into. And perhaps the most powerful realization of all is this: you were never meant to force abundance into your life. You were meant to align with it so naturally that it could arrive without resistance. So as you continue forward in this quiet yet powerful phase of your life, allow yourself to embrace the stillness that once felt unfamiliar, because within it, everything is being arranged in ways you do not need to control. And what is coming next will not require explanation, validation, or announcement. It will arrive with a certainty that speaks louder than words, and when it does, you will understand why you were guided to stay quiet, to stay grounded, and to trust what was unfolding long before it became visible. And in that moment of realization, something within you settles in a way that feels almost unfamiliar, yet deeply natural, as if a part of you that has always been searching finally recognizes that it no longer needs to chase, no longer needs to question every step, and no longer needs to seek reassurance from the outside world to confirm what it already knows within. Because what you are stepping into now is not just a season of receiving, but a season of understanding the deeper rhythm of your life, a rhythm that cannot be rushed, manipulated, or forced into existence, but instead reveals itself through patience, awareness, and a quiet trust that continues to grow stronger each time you choose stillness over reaction. Chosen one. There is a quiet maturity forming in you, one that changes the way you see everything, from the smallest interactions to the largest opportunities. And this maturity does not come from experience alone, but from reflection, from the moments where you paused instead of reacting, where you observed instead of speaking, and where you trusted instead of doubting. And because of this, you are no longer easily pulled into distractions that once felt important. You begin to recognize the difference between what truly matters and what only appears to matter on the surface. And this clarity becomes a kind of inner filter that protects your energy, your focus, and your direction, without you having to force boundaries or explain yourself. This is why your silence is becoming more intentional, not distant, not disconnected, but precise. Because you're starting to understand that your energy is valuable, and where you place your attention shapes what grows in your life, whether you realize it or not. And as money continues to flow in, as stability begins to form in ways that feel both new and grounding, you may notice that your desires themselves begin to change, becoming less about proving something externally and more about creating something meaningful internally. You may find yourself drawn toward simplicity instead of excess, toward purpose instead of pressure, and toward experiences that feel aligned rather than impressive. And this shift is not something you are forcing. It is something that is happening naturally as your awareness deepens. Because when you begin to understand the true nature of abundance, you realize that it is not measured by how much you can show, but by how deeply you can sustain, enjoy, and grow what you have been given. And there is something else quietly unfolding alongside this, a sense of timing that feels almost intuitive, as if you know when to move and when to wait without needing to overanalyze every decision. And this timing becomes one of your greatest strengths because it allows you to act with clarity instead of urgency. You begin to move when it feels right, not when it feels pressured. You begin to speak when it feels aligned, not when it feels expected. And you begin to step forward with a confidence that does not need to be announced, because it is rooted in understanding rather than validation. This is the kind of confidence that cannot be shaken easily, because it is not built on outcomes, it is built on awareness. And as this awareness continues to grow, you may start to notice something that once would have seemed impossible, that even in moments of uncertainty, you remain steady. Even when things are not fully clear, you do not feel lost. Even when the next step has not yet revealed itself, you are not overwhelmed, because you have learned how to be present without needing immediate answers. And this presence is what keeps you aligned. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you connected to the flow that is guiding your life in ways you are only beginning to fully understand. So as you continue forward with this quiet strength and this growing clarity, remember that what is happening within you is just as important as what is happening around you, because the outer flow you are experiencing is a reflection of the inner alignment you have been building, step by step, moment by moment, choice by choice. And what comes next will not feel chaotic or forced or overwhelming. It will feel natural. It will feel steady. It will feel like something you were always meant to step into, even if you could not see it before. And when it arrives in its fullness, without noise, without announcement, without the need for explanation, you will not feel surprised in the way you once would have. You will feel ready. Because everything you have been experiencing, every moment of silence, every instinct to hold back, every shift in awareness has been preparing you not just to receive more, but to become someone who can carry it with peace, with clarity, and with a quiet confidence that speaks far louder than anything you could ever say. But to hold it in a way that does not disturb your peace, does not pull you out of alignment, and does not disconnect you from the deeper sense of purpose that has quietly guided you all along. And as this readiness settles into you more deeply, you may begin to notice that your relationship with control itself starts to change. Because where you once felt the need to manage every outcome, to predict every possibility, and to secure every step before taking it, you now find yourself allowing things to unfold with a sense of trust that feels both new and strangely familiar, as if you are remembering a way of living that was always meant for you. Chosen one. This is where life begins to feel less like something you are trying to figure out, and more like something you are learning to flow with, where each step reveals itself not all at once, but exactly when you are ready to see it. And this timing, though subtle, carries a precision that cannot be replicated through force or urgency. And in this flow, you begin to recognize that not everything requires your reaction, not everything deserves your attention, and not everything is meant to be carried with you into the next phase of your life. And this understanding allows you to move forward with a kind of lightness that does not come from having less, but from needing less to feel secure. This is a quiet form of freedom, a freedom that is not loud or visible but deeply felt. Because when you are no longer attached to proving, to explaining, or to holding on to things that no longer align, you create space for what truly belongs to you to enter and remain without resistance. And as this space expands within you, so does your capacity to receive without fear of loss. You begin to understand that what is meant for you is not fragile in the way you once believed, that it does not depend on constant attention or external validation to stay, and that your role is not to control it, but to remain aligned with it. And this alignment becomes your foundation, not circumstances, not opinions, not temporary outcomes, but a steady inner knowing that guides you even when everything around you is still taking shape. And if you continue to honor this, to trust this quiet guidance that has been leading you step by step, you may begin to notice something even more profound, that the life you once imagined as something distant is now forming around you in ways that feel natural, sustainable, and deeply connected to who you have become. Not who you were trying to be, not who others expected you to be, but who you are when you are fully aligned. And this is why the silence was necessary, not to limit you, but to shape you. Not to hold you back, but to refine how you move forward. Because what is being built in your life is not temporary success, not fleeting moments of gain, but something that carries depth, stability, and meaning far beyond what can be seen on the surface. And as it continues to unfold, you will find that you no longer feel the need to rush ahead or look back with regret, because you understand that every phase you have passed through had a purpose, even the ones that felt uncertain, even the ones that felt slow. They were not delays, they were preparation. Preparation for this level of clarity, preparation for this level of stability, preparation for this level of quiet confidence that now allows you to move without hesitation, not because you know everything, but because you trust what you feel. And this trust becomes the guiding force in everything you do, in how you choose, in how you respond, in how you continue forward. So as the flow increases, as life continues to open in ways that feel aligned rather than forced, remain in this space of awareness, this space of calm, this space of quiet strength that does not need to be seen to be real. Because what is unfolding now is not something that needs to be announced to be powerful. It is something that will naturally become evident through the way your life begins to move, through the stability you carry, through the clarity you embody, and through the peace that remains with you regardless of external circumstances. And when others begin to notice, when they begin to sense that something about you has changed, even if they cannot fully explain it, you will not feel the need to explain it either. Because you will know, you will understand, that what you protected in silence has now become a presence that speaks without words, moves without force, and grows without needing permission. And in that realization, You will see clearly why you were never meant to rush this, why you were never meant to reveal everything too soon, and why staying quiet was never about holding back, but about becoming ready for something that was always meant to find you at the exact moment you could carry it with peace. And when you truly sit with that understanding, not just hearing it, but allowing it to settle into your awareness, you begin to see your entire journey differently, as if the pieces that once felt scattered now quietly come together into something that makes sense without needing to be forced into meaning. Because nothing you experienced was without purpose. Even the moments that felt confusing, even the times when things slowed down or seemed to pause without explanation, even the situations where you felt overlooked or delayed while others appeared to move ahead. Those moments were not empty. They were shaping you in ways that could not be rushed. They were creating the inner structure required to hold what is now entering your life without losing yourself in it. Chosen one. There is a difference between receiving something and being ready for it, and what you are stepping into now is not just the arrival of more, but the ability to remain steady within it, to experience it without being consumed by it, and to use it in a way that reflects who you have become rather than who you once were. And this is why your awareness feels different now. You are no longer reacting the same way to gain or loss, to movement or stillness, to recognition or silence, because your sense of identity is no longer tied to those things in the same way it once was. You are becoming anchored in something deeper, something that does not shift with every external change, something that remains steady even as your life begins to expand. And in that steadiness there is a quiet kind of confidence that does not need to prove itself, because it is not built on comparison or validation, but on understanding. Understanding who you are. Understanding what aligns with you, understanding when to move and when to wait, and this understanding becomes your guide in ways that feel almost effortless. You begin to trust your timing without needing to question it constantly. You begin to recognize opportunities without needing to chase them. You begin to move through life with a sense of direction that does not feel forced, but naturally revealed. And perhaps one of the most powerful shifts of all is this. You no longer feel the need to hold on to everything that comes your way, because you understand that not everything is meant to stay. And this awareness allows you to release what does not align without fear, without hesitation, and without the feeling that you are losing something important. Because you trust that what truly belongs to you will remain, and what is meant to come will arrive in its proper time. This is a level of peace that cannot be created through external success alone. It is something that forms within you, and once it forms, it changes everything. It changes how you see your past, it changes how you experience your present, and it changes how you move toward your future, because now you are not moving from a place of uncertainty or lack. You are moving from a place of awareness, and awareness creates clarity. Clarity creates alignment. And alignment allows everything to flow in a way that feels natural, grounded, and sustainable. So as you continue on this path, as the flow increases and your life begins to reflect the inner shifts you have made, remember that the most powerful part of this journey is not what others will eventually see. It is what you have quietly become. The discipline you developed when no one was watching, the patience you held when things were not yet clear, the trust you built when there was no visible proof. These are the things that now support everything entering your life. And these are the things that will keep it steady. So you do not need to rush forward. You do not need to explain your journey. You do not need to announce what is unfolding, because what is meant to grow will grow. What is meant to stay will stay. And what is meant to find you will do so without confusion, without force, and without needing to be chased. All you are being asked to do is remain aligned with what you already feel, to trust the silence that once felt unfamiliar, to honor the timing that once felt slow, and to continue moving forward with the quiet certainty that what is unfolding in your life is not sleeks ex masika buch abzit edzak musmuch, not temporary, and not something that needs to be proven. It is something that is becoming, and as it continues to become, step by step, moment by moment, without noise and without pressure, You will find yourself living in a way that once felt distant, not because you forced it into existence, but because you allowed yourself to grow into the kind of person who could receive it, carry it, and sustain it with peace. And in the end, chosen one, it was never just about the money or the opportunities or even the visible changes in your life, but about who you became in the quiet moments when no one was watching, when you chose patience over pressure, awareness over reaction, and trust over fear, because that version of you is the real blessing. So as everything continues to unfold, remain grounded in that stillness, move with intention, and let your life speak in its own time, knowing that what was built in silence will always carry a strength that noise could never create. And without needing to announce it, without needing to prove it, you will simply become it. And if this message stayed with you, you may gently subscribe to Born into Light, to continue walking this path together, and like this video as a quiet acknowledgement of your journey.